Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Well, happy August and welcome to my July reading wrap up. If you're new here, if you just found me this month, this will not be me going over every single book that I've read this month. In fact, I actually do weekly wrap ups because I do read a pretty significant amount, which is wonderful for me. I'm very proud of myself for that. No, I'm just kidding. So I actually do weekly wrap-ups. So if you'd like to know about every book that I've read, the good, the bad, all in the middle, you can check out this playlist up here it goes back to the beginning of the year and has every, all 30 weeks so far. Or, you can just check out the last few if you want to check out July reads. But this today will be first my reading stats because I do track that. I'm a bit of a nerd, just in case you didn't know. And then I will be going over the top 5 books that I read because at the end of the month, I just like to talk about my favorites. And I did have 2 new 6-star reads this month, which was awesome. And I can't wait to share those with you. But also one note before we get in, at the end of me talking about this wrap up, I do have another unboxing from Try Treats. Try Treats was kind enough to send me another one of their monthly treat boxes. So tune in at the end of this to find out where the treats were from this month and my discount code, and a link to get 15% off of your box will be down below. This isn't necessarily sponsored by them. They don't pay me to do this, but they do send me a box for free in exchange for sharing it with you guys. So check that out down below. All right, so let's talk about the stats for July, which ended up being, a good month. It was kind of average. I've really been struggling to get past like the 40 book mark. Which is okay. I shouldn't call it struggling, but I feel like I had a lot more time to read this month, but I also took on some really big books. It was the fan fiction readathon this month, and I've been reading some really big fics. I also was doing some rereads of Childhood Favorite, which is a really big book. So that definitely, I still had, about the same level of like page count. I think I read like the same, basically the same amount of pages. But I read some pretty big books this month as well. But let us get into it. So I read 43 books this month, which was a total of 14,400 pages. So really was booking it through those. Yeah, that's a bad joke. We know. The formats that I read this in was I had 19 ebooks, 10 audiobooks, 13 physical books, and 10 ARCs. So that was cool. Yeah, there was a lot of releases in July for sure. The ratings of these books were, I had 2 6-star reads, 10 5-star reads, 4 4.5-star reads, 13 4-star reads, 5 3.5-star reads, 8 3-star reads, and 1 2.5-star reads. Also, something that I did this month is I actually put up my rating scale on my Instagram. I always have a link to my Instagram if you want to see. I hadn't shared how I decide my ratings in quite a while, so I decided to post that to Instagram to just kind of keep it there. And I will be doing one for my spice scale as well, just because it was good also to remind myself what my rating scale was. You know what I mean? Like you just get a feel for what you're gonna rate stuff, and so I just get used to doing it. But it was good to kind of do a check and remind myself this is how you kind of put stuff where it goes, in my own head anyway. The subgenres of these romances were 15 contemporary, 8 dark, 2 dystopian, 1 erotic, 7 fan fiction, 3 fantasy, 6 historical, and 1 non-romance. That's what I fit in this month. The main tropes that there was forced proximity. That is honestly the number one in romance, because it's how do you get 2 people in the same place anyway? there needs to be forced proximity of some kind. Age gap as well. Also, lots of fake relationships this month too, which was very interesting. So that is the stats of it all. Let's get into my favorites because that's the best part. So the first favorite I want to talk about, and this one is one of the new 6-star reads. It was a 4 on my spice scale, and this was In Silence and Submission by Jillian Eliza. So I actually didn't read this for the fanfiction readathon. I read it the week before because I always read fanfiction, which is why like the fanfiction readathon was really fun to set up, to get some new people trying fanfiction, to, you know, for some of us who do read it, to give us some more dedicated time to reading it. Because that can be tough. That can be tough to take the time to do it, you know, when we feel like we have to finish real books, right? But they're important to me. So this one is a new favorite fanfiction. It's a new favorite story. I loved it so much. This one, of course, was a Dramini. And it was, as you can maybe guess by the title, a BDSM style book. But this one was also a friends to lovers, which that made me so happy. You rarely get to read a Dramini that's a friends to lovers, right? It's usually an enemies to lovers. That's why we love it. There's nothing wrong with that. But this one is definitely a post-war, and Draco and Hermione are in the same friend group, and all of their friends are very supportive of each other. And there is this kind of inciting incident where they're all out to like their friend dinner, and Hermione kind of starts having a panic attack, and Draco just sets his hand on her and tells her to settle. And he uses his Dom voice a little bit, and it actually helps her calm down. And then that kind of leads them into looking into the possibility of them having this type of relationship, because Draco has helped submissives before. He likes being a dominant. It is a role that fits him well. And when he realizes his friend Hermione could really use that, and they're both attracted to each other, it seems like a good fit for the both of them to give it a go. So I really loved how they communicated about it. It has a lot of the things I love about a like new BDSM relationship: the negotiations, the discussing about it, talking about boundaries. The aftercare in this was so good. And then just the sexual healing that happened through BDSM is all top tier level for me. And so this one was just absolutely beautiful. And to top it all off, what made this extra special is that this was a fan fiction that was dual first-person point of view. Now, if you've read any fan fiction, you know that it usually is third person, and it's usually following Hermione. Maybe it'll go to Draco sometimes, but they usually follow Hermione. So to have this one be just that, like dual first-person POV, it just helped you feel so much closer to the characters, and it reads more like a regular romance book. Like you're really able to sink into it, and I loved that so much. So yeah, when I was done, I had originally given this 5 stars, and then I just couldn't stop talking about it because it was a lot like Contradictions, which is one of my other favorite fan fictions, which is also BDSM. But in that one, that Hermione is very like argumentative with Draco. That one really is kind of enemies to lovers, and the only thing connecting them is the BDSM because it's something that Hermione needs. And in this one, it was much more about like they became like they were already friends, and Draco just wants to help her, and there actually ends up being ways in which Hermione helps him too. And I just thought that was so beautiful to see. It was really beautiful to see. So yeah, absolutely love that one. Next, there was a new release, and this was Sincerely Your Inconvenient Wife by Julia Wolf. This is book 2 in the Harder They Fall series, but you really could read it as a standalone. But I feel like this book is best if you've also read... I should have had this ready to go. This book is best if you've also read this book, which this book was one of my favorite books last year. Absolutely love this. This one is a new adult, and it's under the J. Wolf title. This is a part of her Savage You series. And in this book, which has Lachlan and Elena, he has a younger sister named Saoirse. And in this book, it takes place 10 years later and is a part of her, under her like adult titles. And Saoirse is 28, and she ends up getting a temp job at a business of her boyfriend's friends play. Like, it's a roundabout or whatever. But it actually starts with these two having kind of a almost one night stand at his apartment. She got invited to a party at his apartment that his like buddy was having, and they end up meeting and like almost hooking up. Then it doesn't happen. Then she ends up being a temp at his work. And then she shows up at brunch with his friends. So he thinks this girl is stalking him because she keeps showing up everywhere. Well, it turns out that she's like a part of the friend group now. And she's his temp. And so he's like, damn it, I have all these feelings for this temp. But even more than that, he has recently taken over his father's business. His father needed to step back a little bit for health reasons so that he wouldn't overexert himself. And the family is really pushing him to be stable and to be seen as this like upstanding businessman. And to do that, they think he needs a partner. And so to get his family off his back, he learns a little bit more about Saoirse, discovers that she's the daughter of a senator. I believe she's a senator, which is so funny because when I started reading this book, I'd forgot that it was going to be about Saoirse, who was Lachlan's younger sister, because Lachlan obviously has the same parents as her, and the parents were kind of an obstacle in that book. And they're a bit of an obstacle in this one as well because Saoirse has commitment issues. She's seen how her parents like kind of destroyed each other with their love in a way and not willing to bend for the other person. So she has no desire to like be married or anything, but he makes her a deal that will be married for 2 years, will make sure that it stays as an arrangement, and then, you know, you'll be able to help me because you also know what it is like to be be around this type of fame and this type of media scrutiny. But what they don't expect, and they really should have, given how they first met each other, is that their chemistry is up the wall. So of course, we start with all these little rules to keep us separated. Like, they will have sex with each other, but they never have it at home in their own bed. They go to like a hotel or they do it in other places. But you know, then he meets her family and gets the rundown from Lachlan and Elena. Like, yes, we get cameos of Lachlan and Elena and their beautiful babies, okay, and it's adorable. And I've already told Julia Wolf that I'm going to need a second generation someday for these kids out in Wyoming. Like, I'm going to need it. But I was just absolutely charmed by this book. I really was. It's one of her thicker ones. I'm not going to lie. This one is almost 400 pages. And yeah, I love this book so dearly, so much, and it was just so great. It didn't quite get to a 6-star read, but I really loved how this one played out. I felt like the third act conflict was very foreseeable, but also didn't get completely overblown. I feel like it was kind of like justified in how it played out. So yeah, this one has a lot of great things, right? It has a marriage of convenience, but also like fake dating kind of stuff. He's a billionaire. There's forced proximity, and it's also very sexy. This one was definitely a 4 on the chili pepper, and this was a 5-star read for me. So highly recommend this. Yeah, it's just so sexy. It was so great, and yeah, I'm so excited for the next one, which I think is like P.S. I hate you or something, or P.S. I dislike you. I can't remember what the last one's gonna be, but yeah, these 3 billionaire friends have just been great. All right, then the next one was another 6-star read. This book was chosen by one of my patrons to be annotated, and I was really excited to do it. I'd only read one book by this author, but I'd liked it a lot, and then I just kind of forgot about them. And then during June, during Pride Month, tons of people were reading this author, and I was like, oh yeah, I like that author, but I didn't get around to reading him last month, and one of my patrons was like, please annotate this book for me, and I was like, cool. And after I annotated it and sent her copy, I immediately ordered another one for myself because it was a 6-star book. So this is You and Me by Steph Bohrer. I actually ended up reading another book by him this month too, and I almost put both of them in my top books, but I liked this one more, and I wanted to mention some other books as well. But this book is a friends to lovers. They're both single dads. One of them is openly gay, and the other one is a widower. And him and his wife hadn't had a good relationship in many years. They were an accidental pregnancy. Their son is in high school, and there was a really painful loss of the mother. But their relationship had not been good for quite a while. And he's felt very separated from his son. And it's kind of a spoiler, but I'll just say, like, the mother did her level best to really separate these two and put a lot of distance between father and son. And now that the mother's gone, these two are just kind of existing. And Luke, this is a first person point of view of Luke, and then Landon is the other dad. And Landon volunteers with the Booster Club, which, they do meals for the team. They help when there's like away games. They, are just very supportive of the sports team because both of their sons are in football. And Landon's son, which I might forget his name, I apologize for that, but his son, I'm going to forget the boys' names. There's a lot of boys' names. Bowen and Emmett. There we go. Bowen and Emmett are the sons anyway. And they have this kind of like, they've become really close friends. And so when Luke decides to give it a go, Landon is kind of his like helping him out in the boosters. And they really become very close. Their sons are very close. And they really become this kind of like found family to each other. And then they're best friends, and it eventually leads to more. And Luke has never been attracted to a man before. He's never, experimented in that way. He'd only ever been with his wife, really, but not for a long time. And so these feelings are very, like, new to him, but they also feel so different because they're nothing that he felt before. And so Landon is liking him as well, but he doesn't want to be just his experiment, and he doesn't want to ruin things because not only is it their relationship, but like their sons are such good friends as well. So they're very nervous about all of that. But yeah, it was so beautiful. It's a beautiful, like, slow burn. And then, I love experimenting, and I love when sexuality is awakened in a new way. It is a huge theme for me, no matter what type of pairing or even throuple or, new sexual orientation that someone has. I love seeing sexual desire awakened in a new way because it's a different type of like virginity in a way, right? Where you just didn't know you could feel this way or be attracted to that, but it's this person who's awakened it in you. And both this book and The Quarterback, which I ended up reading later in the month, did that amazingly. And like in The Quarterback, that's two straight men who have kind of a bi awakening for each other as well. But this one was so beautiful, and I come back to as well, what was first tearing my guts out while reading this is Steph Bohrer has absolutely beautiful, beautiful writing, but the longing of Luke to reconnect with his son, to not lose this chance to be close with his son, to see how close Landon and his son are. Just, he craves that so much. So before this is ever a romance, before there's ever, sexual desire involved in anything, there's this desire for a father to have his son know the depth of his love for him. And that just, it moved me so much. I definitely cried multiple times while reading this, including at the coffee shop while I was annotating it and just like snot. It was a lot, okay? But this book was beautiful. And yeah, I will be slowly working through these Steph Bohrer. Everyone's been telling me their favorites, and I will get to them. But I'm also taking my time because I don't like to rush through his books, and they hit me so like heavily. Although he would be a good author to read this month because I'm doing the romance readathon in August, and we do get bonus points for gay authors. So this could be a good one for me to read more of. But yeah, this was a 6-star book. I also think if you haven't read much romance or you're nervous about this, could be a really good one because it's not like an overly sexualized one that you can come across. This is written by Own Voices. This is written by a man. And it has a very like gentle and beautiful love. So I didn't even think of that, but I do think if you are new to gay romance or not sure about it, this could be a really good one to try. It does have some heavy themings, obviously, of grief. There is a character who's done previous drug use. There is some trigger warnings around that as well, but none of it is to gratuitous effect, and this is just a beautiful book. It's so beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Then another very powerful, beautiful book I read was Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I am not the first person talking about this. I will not be the last. I know this was a lot of people's favorite book this month, and I completely understand why. So this one is a book about a one-night stand between two people that each have some mobility challenges there or disabilities. So our heroine has an underdeveloped hand, so she has kind of a tiny hand, tiny arm, like situation going on. And our hero is a amputee from a disease that happened. So I won't like spoil all of that, but those are the disabilities that we have going into it. And they meet at a Halloween party that their mutual friends are having, and they both go as pirates. Sorry, my eye is making me struggle. And it's so cute because she went, and it's like she's making the outfit work with her little hand, and he went and made his prosthetic look like a peg leg. So they like both are working it for this humor, and really the only person who can like tease the other person about it is them, and they just have this amazing connection. And they both have had some like damaging relationships before. Both are pretty insecure, but they both like each other, and so they take a chance. They have a one-night stand. It is really beautiful, really fun, and they're both very vulnerable with each other for a one-night stand. They are giving each other pleasure, and it's also just really beautiful. And then they separate, and we quickly jump into 6 weeks later. The heroine finds out she's pregnant. Her name is Wynn, by the way, and she tells Bo relatively quickly, but she is the daughter of like a one-night stand as well. Like her mom and her are pretty close, but also distant because her mother had her very young, and so the heroine's very aware of what she'd be signing up for, and she's not like afraid that she couldn't do it. But she does also have a good friend, like she has a good friend group too. But she is, she'd be lying if she wasn't a bit nervous about what she'd be able to provide for her child, and if her child would be, held back by having a mother who, sometimes struggles to do things for herself. But she does tell Bo very quickly, and this book is my like almost perfect version of a surprise baby. This isn't a secret. She tells him pretty soon. Bo, wants her to move in so he can be there for the pregnancy, and his reaction to finding out, of course he's surprised, but he laughs with joy. Like, I'm just going to tell you it because it was the most charming thing I have read in a long time, because of what happened to him and the circumstances that led to him losing his leg. He did not think that he could have children. So though she thought her birth control was working and they didn't use a condom because neither of them was prepared for a one-night stand, she's very apologetic. She's like, I thought you'd be mad at me. And he's like, no, like, number one, we were both involved in this. He takes responsibility for that part. He's like, we both chose to do it anyway. You didn't force me to do it. I didn't force you to do this. And number two, I didn't even think that I could. So, you saying you were on the pill was like enough, because he didn't know that he was shooting working ammo, as it were. And so he is so happy. And yeah, so then they end up as kind of a roommate scenario, and she's very much like, we got to be friends. We can't have more because I want a dad to be there for my kid. And if our relationship gets messed up, then this won't work. So there's a lot of like that going back and forth, a lot of that happening, but it was so beautiful to watch how he was. And though for me, like when I finished this book, because here's the thing, I thought this was so perfect. Like really, really, I understand why everyone loved it so much. For me, also as a romance though, this was a very slow burn. So we have the one night stand, and then it's a very slow burn. And it's all their interactions are so good. It's so beautiful. And even for both of these characters being a bit more on the timid side, I just love seeing them as friends and watching them grow and like be there for each other through this. Like, it's so beautiful. I wanted them to like get to be together a little bit more at the end, because that's just me. That's what I want out of my romance. So this was so close to a 6-star book for me. Like, I had to look at it when I was done. And I'm the type of person too of like, usually if I have to think too hard, then it's like, well, it's a 5-star. Like, it is a 5-star book. It was wonderful. It's just, you know, when I do a 6-star, I have to have what's my little like extra. So I don't want to denigrate or make anyone think they shouldn't read this, because I think as a romance, it was pretty damn near perfect. I'm just then looking for like what would have made this like a 6-star read for me. And it would have been if I had gotten to see them together a little more, because it is a very slow burn once they are living together. But yeah, so this book, yeah, it had a surprise baby. It had disability rep. It was a one-night stand that turns into a slow burn friends to lovers. And it's just as sweet as so many other people are sharing. Bo is so funny. He's so kind. He is a new book boyfriend for sure. He's going on the list. Absolutely will be in my top book boyfriends of the year. No doubt. Love him. So yeah, 5-star book, 2.5 on the spice scale. And I will be reading more books by this author, no doubt. I know she has a few other books out already, but this is the one. I actually pre-ordered this one because I was so excited for it, for sure. All right, and then the last one I want to mention that's a favorite. It actually should be out in just a couple of, not should, it will be out in a couple of days. I read an arc of this book, and that is Twisted Hearts by Jagger Cole. I was actually just going to look back at my little book here and see how many of these books I've had on my favorites list in the last couple. And like, yeah, I've literally had in May and July now, I have one of these on here. So this is the book 4 in the Dark Heart series. And this one is about Gavin, who is one of the heads of the Bratva. And this is about Eilish, who is one of the Irish like sisters. So this is Neve's younger sister. So in the first book, Neve gets married to Aries, who is like, that's meeting the Greek and the Irish together. And then Eilish is the younger sister, and she's actually still in school. And so, you know, when Killian was giving Neve the choice to marry Aries, he was kind of saying, well, if you don't do this, like, then I'm going to have to ask Eilish. And Neve was like, well, you know, Eilish will say yes to you. So, I'm going to do it instead. But now Eilish is going to school, and she begins this book by, she's getting like hazed into this like secret society or something in college. And her goal is she's supposed to steal this Fabergé egg from this businessman. Well, the person who sets her up for this hazing thing doesn't tell her which business it is. And it happens to be the business owned by Gavin. And Gavin happens to be in his office when she breaks in and tries to steal this egg. And then he like grabs her and she drops it and it shatters. And this is $140 million commissioned by the Tsarina Alexandra Romanov and has been left to Gavin's family. And it also happens to be an item in the middle of a court battle between him and his aunt, or like adoptive aunt. Like, we don't want to say nice things about her because she's a fucking bitch, but we'll get to that. And so he is just flabbergasted that this girl would have the nerve to do this, just flabbergasted by it. And also really pissed because she has just broken this egg. And so she gets away. She thinks he doesn't see her, but the thing is, Gavin knows who it was. Also, Gavin happens to have been stalking her for the last year or so after he saw her commit a crime. And he's been very intrigued by her since he saw her do this crime. So he now uses this more information that he has, you know, her breaking this, to kind of force her into a sexual relationship with him. It's a bit dubious consent at the start, but she ends up really liking it, because he tells her, he's like, if you don't do this, if you don't do whatever I want for 6 months, I'm going to tell your uncle. Now, the thing about this, okay, that I'll say is it reminds me a little bit of like God of Malice. If you've heard me talk about God of Malice by Rena Kent, where our heroine in that is kind of being forced to do things. but she could tell her family at any time, and then the leverage that the guy has is gone. That is the same scenario here. The secret that she's keeping feels very, very bad to her, but we know that if she told her uncle, he, number one, like, wouldn't even have cared about the thing, but number two would be like, Gavin, what the fuck are you doing? Because they're supposed to be at peace with Gavin after some stuff that happened in a previous book. They're supposed to be kind of on the same side type of thing, supposedly. But she also is afraid that she would ruin that peace if she doesn't do what Gavin wants. And she's also super attracted to him. So she agrees to be basically his fuck toy and free use sex object. Yes, this does involve some very kinky BDSM-y things going on in it. It's delightful. But of course, they start to fall for each other as this is happening. Now, there's a couple other layers to this too. So the person that he's in this court battle with, his ex-aunt, she has done some pretty horrible things to Gavin when he was young. So Gavin was basically adopted by someone. There's a lot of like family dynamics going on behind the scenes of this one, so I don't want to spoil that stuff. But he was basically adopted by someone who just, you know, took him in and loved him and treated him like a son. And this woman was that guy's sister. So she's not really his aunt, but she was often left to take care of him when his adoptive father was away. And she took advantage of that in some evil ways. And so, you know, something that Jagger Cole does do is he doesn't only use sexual trauma for women. He uses it, it's in a lot of men's past as well in this series. And while I think in dark romance it is somewhat overused at this point that people have that sexual trauma, that's part of the dark romance genre, is how people use it and deal with it and what it leads to in their sex lives and all those things. Like, if we didn't have those traumas, we probably wouldn't have some of the stories that come about from it, right? But I enjoyed in this book and other books I've read by him how men deal with, you know, sexual trauma happening to them. And it felt very good to see him get to, you know, share that with someone and grow from it. So, yeah, this is probably tied in first place in the series for me. Vicious Hearts is, Vicious Hearts is previously my favorite, and I think this is kind of tied with that for me. This was a 5-star read. It is a 5 on the spice scale as well. The spice starts early and goes often. There are lots of kinks in this one. This one has anal, it has spankings, it has some like slight like voyeurism, you know, doing things in or like public scenarios. It has some throat necklaces, it has some humiliation and praise. Like, it has, his are like packed full of all the juicy goodness that people like these days. Yeah, it was good. It was spicy. This series is intense, and you got to give it a little bit of bonkers room. And if you give it some bonkers room, you have a really great time with these. So anyway, there you go. Those are my stats and my favorites of this month. Now, as I said, please check out my unboxing of my Try Treats, and I'll wrap up the video after that. All right, so let's do our Try Treats unboxing. So if you don't know or haven't heard of them, Try Treats is a monthly snack subscription box which sends you snacks from a specific country each month, and then it has some of the most popular treats in that country. This is a type of box that, you know, we've seen these around for a little while now, but I was lucky enough, they were kind enough to been having send me these boxes, and they also provided a code for my subscribers that if you sign up using it, you get 15% off your first box to give it a try. I only cut the like blocking on this, so use my code TheBookRefuge and the link that I have down below to do that. So I just opened it. Last time when I opened it that way, a bunch of stuff fell out. But I believe this is the Mexican flag. I think I actually know that one. One of the other North American ones. Let me see if I'm right. Watch me be totally wrong. Oh, I am right. Okay, my little card has Machu Picchu on it here. That's so cool. So it says, this month's treats come to you from the beautiful country of Mexico, officially named the Estados Unidos Mexicanos, United Mexican States. Sorry, my Spanish ain't good. Mexico is the 3rd largest country in Latin America and the 14th largest country in the world. It is also home to 34 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. One of the first includes the Kukulkan Pyramid shown in the front of this card. I'm so horrible. I'm so sorry if I'm offending my Mexican viewers. More than 13,000 years ago, Mayan and Aztecs built the pyramids. So yeah, look at that beautiful little card there. So if you have seen one of me unbox one of these before, what I do is I'm going to share with you all the treats in here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And then I'm going to try 3 of them and like rank them for you. So I have had so much fun with these snack boxes. Oh my gosh, I literally just saw some of these snacks recently. Some of these snacks do show up in my country, obviously, because since we're so close to there, we get a lot of these. But let's go through. So this first one is Maria's, and these are cookies. These are ones I have seen before, actually in some of our gas stations I've seen. It says these are vanilla cookies. It says made with ingredients like egg, brown sugar, and milk. These are a treat that was created to soothe the senses. Pair with your favorite spread of choice for a midday treat. That's awesome. Okay. All right. So then we have paella. I think you don't pronounce the L. This says a chocolate covered marshmallow lollipop. That looks awesome. This one says, yeah, this one says the Peloton chocolate by De La Rosa are marshmallow lollipops coated in chocolate. I mean, pretty simple. Sounds amazing. All right, then we have like a lot of like candy ones in here this time. This one is Pulperinato. Little baby one here. This one is a chili and tamarind flavored bar. It's spicy, one-of-a-kind taste. Is definitely a taste of Mexico and a reflection of the country's unique love for spicy treats. That sounds interesting. All right, Ranita Croa. Oh my gosh, it looks like a little frog. That's so cute. This one is a sweet and crunchy Mexican chocolate, also known as the Ranita Croak or the Little Frog Croak, from De La Rosa. It's a milk chocolate frog. I think I might try this one. That'll be one to try. All right, this one is Carlos V, and this one's from Nestle. You should recognize that. This one is the King of Chocolates, has been a staple chocolate bar in Mexico since the 70s. With its rich smell and uniquely powdery taste, you will better understand why Mexicans think it's the #1 chocolate. Sounds like a good book snack to me. La Vaquita, a milk caramel lollipop. This one is milk caramel lollipops are traditional lollipops from Mexico made with goat's milk. That's cool. All right, Bosadin. Ooh, this one is a Mexican candy favorite. Is a combination of crispy, thin peanut wafers coated in delicious creamy chocolate. Excellent for sharing, but we think you'll finish it before you know it. Well, it's so tiny. I might try this one as well. All right. Ooh. Booba Luba marshmallow and strawberry gummy filled treat. Oh my god, what is this? Is a treat enjoyed by all ages in Mexico, made up of chocolate covered marshmallows and strawberry jelly stacked together. Oh my gosh, I'm probably gonna try that one too. Holy cow. Okay, then we have peanut terra nuts. So this is funny. This one is, they're a Japanese style peanut made by the most prominent creator of Japanese style nuts in Mexico. So Japanese style nuts in the Mexican box. That's kind of cute. And then, ooh, there's another little one. This one is Chocoritas. This tiny little green pack. This one says mini Chocoritas. Okay, so I have a mini bag. Smaller candies in circular form with an exquisite mint and chocolate flavor. This confit candy has a really great tasty cover to mint sugarish cover and a filling of sweet chocolate. It sounds like something that I would really love. I love like mint chip and chocolate stuff. And then the last thing in here is the Takis, which I definitely have these for sure. So these are Takis Fuego, are a hot chili pepper and lime flavored tortilla chip, enjoyed by those who love extra spicy treats. Its product tagline is like fire walking on your tongue. So I definitely have had Takis before, so that's cool. So that one treat that I didn't have the name for, I really don't have it on my list. I had all of the other things. So I think it was maybe an extra, because again, I remember that from a different box. So maybe that was a bonus treat, but it is not on my list. And again, I think I got that in my like South Korea box. I could be wrong. Or North Korea, South Korea. You know what I mean? The Korean box that I got. So yeah, okay, let's try 3 of these quick. So let's try this peanut wafer and chocolate one. Okay. It very much tastes like a wafer cookie, like I thought it might. Not quite like a Nutter Butter, because it does have that kind of papery taste that a wafer candy can have. So definitely not bad, but relatively kind of tasteless at the same time. Okay, then let's try the little chocolate frog here. Gotta love a chocolate frog. Ooh, uh-oh. Okay, well this one definitely bloomed. So I will still take a bite of it, but I assume it's not supposed to look like this. I think maybe some of that has to do with like the heat in getting it here, as well as it just means it doesn't have as many like preservatives in it as some things, which can be a good thing. Yeah, definitely old. It hasn't gone rancid or anything, but I'm sure it tastes better fresh. And then the Boo Boo Lubu. I'm super interested in this. Wow. This is a winner for sure. Wow, I really like this. So, of these 3 treats, this one is the winner, the Boo Boo Lubu, #1. And then I would do the Bosadin. I'm butchering this, I'm sorry. And then, I mean, this would be third, obviously, even though it is old. I also don't like this hard of a chocolate anyway. I'm more of a softer type of gal. So, there you go. There was my box from Try Treats. That was from Mexico this time. As I said, you can check out a link to their site below, as well as the 15% off code. Thank you so much to Try Treats for continuing to send me these. They're always a lot of fun for me. And yeah, I hope you find some good snacks to munch on while you read. We'll see you next time, everyone, and thanks for watching.